Hi, my name's Rob. Welcome to my channel, Our Amazing Woodwork. In our videos we'll try and share with you tips and tricks of new things that we learn along the way on anything to do with woodwork. Follow along with us. We upload videos on Fridays twice a month. I've got this piece of yew which I'm going to turn. So you can see I've marked a circle out. Let me see if I can improve the lighting. I've marked a circle out on the base, and I've done it on the top as well, but those chainsaw cuts need to come out, so I'm going to take them out and then recenter it and then start roughing it out. Okay, so you see I've turned the spigot on here, so then I'm going to turn it round and I can put it in the jaws, and that means we can start forming a shape. So what I'm thinking is maybe this gets scooped out and then, I don't know, goes down to a base. There's going to be a base here anyway, so this bit's going to come out. My son thinks I should leave this in, some of this in, but I'm not sure. I'll see how it looks. But we'll get to that bit in a minute. Okay, so as usual, it's turning out different to how I thought. It's sort of, I actually think it's probably going to be more of almost like a classical urn. So I'm going to sand this outside, then I'm going to cut the inside out because I want a small base here with a little stem that's quite delicate with this sitting on top. So I need to do the heavy work at this end first, so that when I do this, I haven't got to do loads of work on the top at the end. So I'm not going to get it finished today, but it should look quite good. Okay, so I've made a bit of a mistake here because I think I've made the spigot too small, and as a consequence there's too much play in it. You can't really appreciate it, but there's too much wobble in that. So I am going to have to sort something out about that, which won't be this evening. It'll be another day. I think what I'm going to do is turn a piece to go that will fit in there with a spigot on it, and then flick this around, and then I can do something else on the other end. I might end up making a compression foot on the other end, which would work. So yeah, gonna have to think about that one. I don't want to waste it, it's such a lovely piece. So yeah, that's a job for another day. So just goes to show it doesn't always go right, but there's always a way to get around it, and that's the trick, is to work out the best way to get around it to make it work for you. So I'm going to have a pack up now. Plenty of sawdust on the floor as usual. So I've put a piece of square, about 3-inch square softwood in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn another a little spigot like this, but on this piece I will make almost like a dowel, just so that that centers in there, and then that can go on the end of the lathe, on this end of the lathe, and be fixed in there, and this end will go on this tailstock, and then I can turn out a compression foot, which means I can flip it back over to go on this foot here. So that probably doesn't make any sense, but all will become clear. So we've got our round blank now, so now it's just a case of, I'm going to turn the spigot first, which needs to be that diameter, which is about 40mm. So it's basically the same as this. That goes in the chuck, and so that needs to slide. That's a little bit bigger, but I'd rather it was bigger than smaller. So that's what we're going to do first. there's the finished article. It's not perfect, it doesn't have to be, but it's a nice, you can hear that, it's a nice snug fit in there. So that will now go in there, and then this end will sit on this piece, and then we can recenter it and start working on this base to get a foot in compression mode on here. Okay, so I've turned the compression foot on this, as hopefully you'll be able to see here. So that's the width of it, and it's just got a little bevel inside it just so that it's not square, and the foot's got something to stick to and hold it in. So now it's just a case of taking it off, turning it round, and then carrying on, hopefully. So here's the moment of truth. So it's mounted back. Let me just show you. So you can see there, that's the compression foot mounted on. So now it's just a case of what happens when we turn it on. Just stand. There you go, that's not bad. That feels pretty good. There's not a lot of wobble on there. I've already sanded the outside, so I've only got to finish this bottom bit. I want to hollow out the inside, and that's the critical bit. So you can see so I'm quite pleased with that. That's worked quite well. So now I'm going to carry on hollowing out the inside and see if we can progress with it. So I'm just in the process now of drilling out the inside to make it easier to hollow out. So you can see I've got the drill set up, so I'm just going to do the last bit. I'm going up to this bit of tape here, which I've stuck on just to give me an idea on depth and how, you know, so I don't go too far. That's it, that's finished now, so I can take this off and then we can start hollowing it out. So you'll see I've started hollowing it out. It's going okay, but I get a bit of vibration off of it. I think that's probably because it's so long that it creates that. And so this is a traditional bowl gouge, but I found that quite hard to use in this. It cuts fine, but where it's quite deep and you get quite a steep angle in there, I find it hard to get into. So I recently bought one of these. Well, I bought a set of these. I'll talk more about these in another video. So this is by a company called David Lloyd. Oh, it's upside down. There you go. This is by a company called David Lloyd Tools. I don't sell them. It's just something I've been using. Now this is they call this a bowl buster, and it's like a scraper, but this is a really tough carbon steel disc with you can just see it there. If I hold my hand up against it, you can just see it. It's got a bevel on it which is supposed to stay super sharp, and it certainly works well for this. I'll give you a little show, and it does seem to do the job, and you get a nice neat finish. It's taken me a little while to work out how to use it, because it's completely different method of cutting than the bowl gouge. They work very differently. You don't have a bevel that you can follow with a bowl gouge, but it seems to work okay, and I quite like it. So I'll give you a quick show so you can see how it works. And you do get a nice finish with them once you've worked out how to use them. So that's definitely an advantage. So it's just a case of persevering, for me anyway, and making sure that I'm only taking light cuts. You can see from the let's focus on there. So they're only light cuts, and I think for me that makes me feel more confident with it. But I think that also helps because the wood's very, very dry where it's been so old, and it's been sitting in my shed for so many years. I mean, literally probably 5 years, maybe even longer than that. So that's probably not really helping the situation, but you know, it's getting there, and it will look really cool at the end. So that's what I'm pleased about. Okay, so I finished hollowing out the inside. It's not 100% perfect. There's some ridges inside, which, should I get them out? I should try maybe. But the problem is it's so deep. But it's further than my hand, and it's quite narrow. It's really hard. There's a couple. Maybe I should try and I'll see what I can do. Okay, so I've had to go at getting the ridges out, which is, it's better. So now I'm just sanding off the inside. Hard to see it inside, but it needs dusted out, and then I'll put some more on it. I'm going to go back to working on the outside now, the base. So that's sanded and ready. Now I'm going to work on this and turn that, see what we can make that look like. Kind of where I've got to. I'm sort of slightly under time pressure, and I've come this far and I don't want to ruin it. Something part of me says these lines should be a bit crisper, a bit like this. You know, it should have more of a definite transition, but it's doing it and not messing it up. That's what kind of worries me. So I don't know, I'm not sure. I'll have a think about it. Okay, so I ended up doing a few more bits to it. Am I happy with it? Yeah, it's okay. I'm not 100% happy. I do like the shape. But I'm, like I say, I'm sort of scared of doing too much more to it in case I mess it up. It's pretty much the shape that I think I wanted, like an urn kind of shape. So yeah, overall I'm pleased. Could it be better? Yeah, it could be better. It could always be better. I think I'm going to try some of this Oddie's oil, which I've never used before, so I'm going to give that a go on it and see what that comes out like. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so I've dusted it off with a tack cloth, and you're supposed to rub the wood over, and it has like something on it that attracts the sawdust to it but doesn't leave a residue on the timber. So I've used that, and now I'm going to use the Oddie's oil, which you'll remember cost me, I don't know, so like 55 pounds easily. I've got a feeling it was 57 pounds. So for this little jar, so I'm going to try it with that. They say you have to mix it up thoroughly, so, and you have to use clean cloths. So I've got some clean cloths here, one for putting it on and one for buffing it off. In terms of colour, comes up really amazingly. So I'm going to let that soak in for a bit, and then I'm going to come back and polish it, buff it up, and see how it comes up. So I'm just polishing it up, and I've got a little stick of natural beeswax here, and I'm just going to rub some of that on and rub that in as well, and then I can take it off, put a little bit of oil on the bottom, and it's finished. So there you have it. Beautiful colours, really pretty. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.